Hey guys, and welcome to another GameXplain discussion. I'm your host, Derek Bittner, and I'm joined today by Ted from Brain Scratch Comms and Shadow of Chaos 725, or Ray, to discuss all of the details that have come out about Fire Emblem If, specifically My Castle. So Ray, since you were actually the one to translate the entire 9-minute presentation, what are your thoughts on all of this? Like, just in general about all this information that's come out?
In general, I really like the feature. Even though it's just a glorified barracks, there's so many different interactions between the characters, as well as your main character, that I just feel like the characters are more developed than just the support conversations, and it gives another dimension to the entire game, in between battles, of course.
Yeah, in a game like this, I really like having kind of a hub kind of feature, because it really does give you some sense of downtime in between missions, which I did like in Awakening, which was I really liked having the world map and kind of a sense of being able to kind of pause in between missions, more so than just like turning the game off. And I like having this feature, especially in the Nor version, which is probably going to be the one I play first, because it doesn't mean that, you know, I get to the next mission and I have to sit through dialogue before I can turn the game off again at the battle selection screen. I can just get to my castle, turn the game off, kind of slow down, and, you know, play however much I want without feeling railroaded into the next story bit.
I was actually pretty surprised about that, because most veterans expected that it would be traditional Fire Emblem, because that's how they were marketing it. And I just was pleasantly surprised that it allowed you downtime in between.
Yeah, there seems to be like it's definitely not as much. You know, you're not going from mission to mission to mission with just like taking a look at your team setup in between. There is a little bit more downtime, which honestly is not a bad thing. You know, playing 7. I really have no problem with adding all this extra features, and I was actually pleasantly surprised to see that the North side is being represented with My Castle. But there are other little details here and there that keep you reminded that this is the North side. For example, with those Streetpass battles that you can have with friends, in the Hoshido side, you actually earn XP from all that. However, in the North side, no XP will be earned. It's just sort of a fun extra thing that you can do. Now, of course, you'll still be able to do other stuff to affect your character's stats and all that stuff, but we'll get into that a little bit later. For now, one of the older things, because there's also, in addition to all this My Castle stuff, Famitsu's been pushing out all kinds of information, and it's been kind of just incredible. One of the other things they talked about was the class change mechanics, which are pretty much similar to Awakening, in that the fact that, you know, a basic unpromoted class can use a Master Seal once they reach level 10 to promote to one of 2 advanced classes. The difference here is the parallel seal, which acts like the Awakening's second seal, which that allowed characters to actually swap their classes. Before we talked about how in Awakening you had 3 choices, here we only have 2. But the other thing that I found kind of interesting is that if you change your classes with a parallel seal, you don't actually lose any of your levels. Your level remains the same. You don't reset back to 1. Now, was that a major change to you guys? I know you didn't really use parallel seals too much, Ted, but what about you, Ray?
This mechanic actually seems familiar. It's in Fire Emblem New Mystery of the Emblem, FE12, that did not come out in the US or Europe. Mm-hmm. It was strictly translation patch through an emulator that you could play it in English. Well, just like Shadow Dragon. Thinking about it, you just switch classes, and there were actually limits to how many of the same class you had in one chapter. There were no usage of items, but you essentially had a choice to which class that you wanted without affecting or resetting your stats.
It seems like they kind of want to downplay grinding in this game a bit. You know, that's especially evident in the North side, because, you know, you really can't grind. But I think even in the Hoshido side, they want to downplay grinding because of all the second seals and master seals stuff you can do in Awakening. With enough time and effort, you can get max stats on basically everyone, even in the hardest difficulty settings. I don't think that they want people to grind their way to victory in this game as much. Not that you really needed to in normal Awakening, because it was relatively easy, but I think they want to focus people on more strategizing in order to win battles instead of just doing a whole bunch of random encounters and then plowing through enemies with high-level units.
I think there's also the fact that even if you wanted to grind, it's the very act of itself that it takes so many hours. Maybe they wanted to streamline that in some way.
That would make sense. Just a very small change that, only affects some people, because I never actually got far enough in Awakening to swap classes, but I know I'm the type of person, even if I was given the choice, like, no, this is the class I'm used to, I'm going to stick with this class and not really worry about it. So, but it is interesting that they kind of facilitate, like, no, you can change, you're not going to lose anything by changing class. I don't know, I kind of like that little detail.
From what I see it as, I think it is a mix of the Shadow Dragon and New Mystery of the Emblem system, as well as Awakening, because in Shadow Dragon, you could change them into pretty much any class. There was no uniqueness. You just had a limit per map. And with this system, it's just like Awakening, where each character has their own unique sets of classes, and making it more streamlined instead of, hey, reset your class and then you have to grind again to be able to change classes, is a little bit more convenient for the player and generally just makes it a better experience, in my opinion.
I'm guessing, this is just a shot in the dark, but for the most part, you didn't really need to class change on the base difficulty level in Awakening. The only characters I did that for were Donald and Olivia, because I don't use the Dancer class much, and Donald as Villager is useless. But yeah, I didn't class change much in Awakening, and I have a feeling that you probably won't need to do it too much in If as well. I think it's just there for people who like kind of min-maxing and finding the best sort of strategies for each individual character.
Speaking from a difficulty perspective in Awakening's normal mode, you really didn't need it at all, just confirming this, because you could play it just like how you would with every other Fire Emblem, where you had class change items and you just leveled up to 20 and that was it. You couldn't max out your stats anymore unless you used stat boosting items, which were of a limited supply.
Well, let's get to the real meat of it with this whole thing, which is definitely My Castle. And there is so much to cover here, not only in the 9-minute presentation that Ray translated, but also with a recent Famitsu update where they go over even more detail on what can be done. But as Ray put it, this is essentially a updated version of the barracks where you can wander around freely, talk to different characters, really build up that sense of a team. And that's what I love about Fire Emblem so much, is that the fact that they really want you to care for every character. And so when they die, that is a huge loss, and that's why you want to restart if you lose a character, because you care about that person so much. And to see that just get extended and expanded with the My Castle and how basically interacting with all these characters in different ways, I don't know, I really like the idea of My Castle, and I think it's going to be a fun little distraction as you're going through the game. It
really adds on to more than just the support conversations, because really none of the characters in your army get that much development other than the lords, and they're pretty much forgettable if you choose to continue on if they die on classic mode. And with My Castle and all those support conversations, you really get a feel of the backstories of these characters, and it makes them more believable, more human. And I really like that part of the feature.
Yeah, one of the things that I never really understood in Awakening was the existence of the barracks, because, I mean, it was nice to get random items or stat boosts lying around. Like, I mean, I don't know why Lucina keeps on picking up random sticks, or why Olivia has random legendary weapons in her pocket all the time, but, whatever. And it was cute seeing like Pan put up like a little bunny poster or whatever, but other than that, it was really kind of a whatever sort of feature. And I'm liking how expanded they're making it in this new game, because there's a difference between going to the barracks for 30 seconds and then going back to the overworld map, and having this giant castle that not only do you like explore, and also, for the record, it's really weird seeing Fire Emblem sprites go diagonally. That's just odd. But not that it's just, having this map to explore. I think it really fits in this type of game. It actually reminds me of how I felt in when I was playing the last story, where it wasn't a castle, but there was a hub town that you visited in between each chapter, and I love having areas that become very cozy and feel like home in a sense. And I really like how customizable it is and how every castle will end up feeling like yours because you're going to build it in a different way than anybody else would.
Really, that feeling of wanting that hub, because my first game was Fire Emblem 6, Roy's game, Binding Blade, and every mission felt as if I wanted that hub. I wanted to be able to shop and prepare myself and stuff, and there was no connection with the characters. And since I sucked at Fire Emblem at that point, any people that died, I just didn't feel all that connected with. And with this, it allows newcomers and veterans to love the characters, and it's just wonderful. The barracks was bare bones, and it was an attempt at that. But just like the My Unit or the Avatar feature that was in FE12, they just took a bare bones concept and just refined it, and it looks wonderful.
No, it really does. And I kind of like how there's even a little bit of strategy to all this, because I'm not sure whether or not whoever mans the shops that you can put up is you decide right away, or it just changes up randomly.
It looks random to me because I've read the Famitsu details. Depending on who's running the shop at the moment, you get certain discounts. Like if a fighter's running the shop, you'll get less on axes. And they had that kitchen thing where a different person would be running the kitchen, and then you'd get different food because of that. I have a feeling that it'll cycle randomly, so like you might think, ooh, this is a really cool sword. Oh, but wait, the swordsmaster isn't running the shop right now. I'll do the next chapter and then come back, and maybe he'll be running it and I can get it for less. I think it just depends on whether or not the characters reset on a time basis, or whether you turn the game off, or whether you beat another chapter or something.
Mm-hmm. But it also looks like it's very obvious which characters give you said discounts. I mean, Kazuhara was totally not biased, saying, hey, you should get a katana. Definitely a katana.
Yeah, it's nice little hints like that, and they really do, like with My Castle, just show each of the personalities of the two different countries. Like Hoshido is bright and colorful, and very much based upon Japanese buildings and everything else like that. And Nor is brown and harsh and just very different. So I like those little things, but there's still a lot of personality with each one. Just because Nor is dark doesn't mean it doesn't have its own little charms to it. But it's still interesting that they definitely showed off more of the Hoshido side when showing off My Castle, probably because it is so bright and colorful, and it really makes the My Castle stand out all the much more.
One thing that I really liked about the Nor My Castle is that you can kind of collect materials from like different fields and mines and stuff that you have in the Nor side. I'm getting a feeling that you'll probably get way less of those materials on the Nor side than the Hoshido side, which I think will sort of emphasize the sort of this country really does not have enough to sustain itself and needs to expand kind of things that are going on in the story. And I think it's just a nice way to mix gameplay and story together in a way that's also not intrusive, since this is supposed to be the harder mode anyway.
I actually disagree that they would actually... It seems that way, but maybe if just like how the barracks felt disconnected from the story, I think My Castle might be in some like little bubble away from all the tension and such.
Oh no, I'm just meaning like they're taking a story element, which is the Nor country does not have a lot of materials, a lot of supplies to go around, and they're implementing that in the gameplay where you don't get an awful lot of extra materials to upgrade your party from your castle because Nor is a very barren country. I like how they're mixing gameplay and story together in a way that's non-intrusive. I just think I love games that do that. I think that's awesome.
And I guess maybe they could also add on to that with the whole emphasis on resource management on the Nor version of the game.
Yeah, and it's not like you're screwed if you're playing the Nor version, because I believe with the Streetpass functionality, you can go to other castles and get stuff. So, as long as you live near other people who are playing the game, you can get more materials and you won't be completely out of luck. So
there's a lot of interesting little details. Like, as you said, you can go to different... You use street passes to visit other Fire Emblem players, and you can visit them, just hang around and talk to their people and actually get items that way. You can even go to their shops and buy from their shops, so you can actually equip your Hoshido side with Nor weaponry or vice versa. And I kind of like that little detail where, I did visit and I got all this. And there's something about like recruiting characters that your opponent uses that I'm not fully understanding here, but just the fact that you can fight one another, and there's a whole decision between fighting on your defending yourself or going on the attack. And the best I can tell, the big difference between the two is who has access to the dragon character, which is I believe her name's Camilla.
Camilla is the girl with the North side. Lilith is the dragon.
Lilith is the dragon. Thank you. I was mixing up my mythology. But yes, you can have Lilith help you in these battles, but I think it might be only if you're on the defense. So that might play into what exactly your strategy is here. And it is interesting that you have a little dragon. Like, they didn't say what Lilith does beyond helping out in those battles, but I'm kind of curious what feeding her and doing all these different things with her will do in the game.
From what I saw, the level up, it said her speed went up, so I'm guessing her stats and how much she heals you would probably be what that does.
The thing that interests me the most is recruiting characters from the other side, because I'm wondering how useful of a mechanic that'll be. Because if you've played Awakening, you can get DLC characters from the DLC missions, like you can recruit Marth or Ike or so on. Or you can also get characters from Spot Pass, which have the names of Fire Emblem characters, but essentially act as generic units. Now that was all cool and everything in Awakening, but I found them kind of useless as units because they couldn't support, and supports were so helpful in the game. Now obviously they've nerfed pair up an awful lot in If, but I'm wondering if you recruit a Nor character in the Hoshido side of the game, will that character act as if he were a Nor character and be able to support with the people who could be in both versions, or is he just kind of a blank slate unit that you won't end up using very much and is just kind of there to say that he can be there? I don't know, that's the only thing that kind of confuses me.
Two nitpicks as an FE veteran with Awakening. One is that the DLC characters and the Spot Pass characters are actually one of the most broken things in the game and is only nerfed by the fact that they can't support. They can class change to anything, as well as have their unique skills. King Marth, fully maxed out, can one-shot Grima through Pavis Plus on Lunatic Plus.
Wow.
Second nitpick, well, not nitpick, but I agree with you, is that I'm wondering if they can actually recruit as characters in the story, or if it's just acting like the Awakening where you can't support generic characters. But it's still cool because even if they can't support, you could use them on your My Castle team or even in the story without actually, having the context of the entire story thrown out the window.
It's one of those questions for the game, because I don't think they went into it, but it's still we're not that far off. I think we're 21 days away from Fire Emblem's release in Japan, which I'm sure all these questions will get answered. Well, of course it will, but yeah. One of the other things, though, about My Castle is that the way to upgrade your buildings, or even just build them in general, is that you need something called Dragon Vein points. And we know about Dragon Vein before because that's the ability that basically all the Lord characters have, where they can manipulate the land in a sort of... create special abilities like that bridge. With Dragon Vein points, apparently the way that you get that in the game is winning Street Pass battles. However, for people, it does seem like there's going to be a way for people to earn Dragon Vein points even when you don't have somebody around you. Like for me, I have nobody I can Street Pass with. It's not going to help me at all. Ted, on the other hand, might actually have a chance to Street Pass some people and get some Dragon Vein points. So I'm glad they're mixing up ways to do that. And they're also finding ways to sort of limit how quickly you can upgrade everything. Now, of course, you still have money that you wouldn't be able to use that on, but it's still the same basic idea where you need to do this in order to unlock this.
Derek, you do know that you can just walk into a Best Buy or a McDonald's and get free Street Passes, right?
Oh, really?
Yes. It's the Nintendo Zone thing, which I actually have a setup of, so that's why I'll be able to Street Pass Japanese people when the game comes out in less than a month.
Guess I should go to Best Buy more often.
The only question I have is if you use the same points to like upgrade your My Castle as you do to act in the overworld. Like, I know you can use your dragon ability to like make a rock bridge or something in the battles. If I'm wondering if you have to wonder, should I save these points so that I can make a fight easier later down the line, or should I make my castle as cool as possible? Because I'm probably just gonna do that second one if it's possible. Because
I'm thinking they're separating that, just as I said before, with my castle being in its little bubble. Maybe the points might be just for my castle, and that for activating Dragon Vein, it's probably story context that you have to be at a certain spot, a certain time, at a certain turn, that kind of thing.
Could be. Well, guys, there's just something about Fire Emblem If that we just can't stop talking about. Maybe it's the fact that they're just releasing so much information about the game. So with that said, we kept going for another 20-25 minutes on this topic. So of course we have to split it up into two to make this a bit more manageable. But of course stay tuned for that, as we'll be talking more about my castle, specifically the different buildings that you'll be able to create, as well as other stuff on Fire Emblem If, including the characters, the amiibo support, and just everything else that this game has to offer. It's coming up really soon, and yeah, hope you guys look forward to that. And of course, thank you guys for watching, and if you like this video, be sure to like us on Facebook and Twitter at GameXplain. We'll also have links for our guests, which was Ted from Brain Scratch Comms, and Ray, or Shadow of Chaos 725, who did translation work for the trailer for the My Castle, so you can check those guys out. And of course, stay tuned to GameXplain for more on Fire Emblem and other things gaming too. Until next time, guys, bye.